I'm fighting a war the algorithm doesn't want you to see, over a decade long. The same corporate machine shaping your dating life, your news, and your confidence tried to erase me. Here's the receipt trail. I run a retail unboxing channel just pulling cards. That's it. Every time I gain ground, my business gets hit. Latest strike? Banned after spending $500+ because I called out bad behavior? Surface story. Underneath? A playbook I've seen since 2013. Once the audience grabs it overseas, the algo can't kill it without hurting its own engagement. IAC isn't just a holding company, it's an influence lattice. Ask.com, Vimeo, Dictionary.com, Investopedia, then the crown jewel, Match Group. In 2015, IAC IPO'd Match. In 2020, they completed the full separation, after scaling to tens of millions of users. Tinder, OkCupid, Plenty of Fish, Match.com, and Hinge all under one umbrella. The world's richest map of desire, movement, tastes, and vulnerabilities. OkCupid publicly admitted to manipulating compatibility signals to test behavior. We experiment on human beings. That's not conspiracy, that's their blog. Point: if a platform can tilt your romantic reality, it can tilt anything downstream. Confidence, politics, purchases. 2019, FTC sues Match Group, alleging Match.com used fake love interest ads to trick people into paying. Claims of unfair exposure to fraud and hard-to-cancel flows. This is the architecture of social engineering, dark nudges at scale. Courts have already slammed Tinder for its age-based pricing, charging users over $30 significantly more for Tinder Plus, under California's Unruh Act, which protects against discrimination. This wasn't just a slap on the wrist, it was a clear message that digital platforms can't play by their own rules when it comes to fairness. But the story doesn't end there. In 2024, when users banded together in a class action lawsuit over Tinder's so-called addictive design, hoping to challenge the app's manipulative features, a judge sent their claims straight to arbitration. Why? Because buried in the app's terms and conditions was a clause that forced users to give up their right to a public trial, locking them into a private, less transparent process. The takeaway is stark. These digital systems are not just designed to shape your behavior, they're also legally fortified to keep disputes out of open court, away from public scrutiny. The rules are written to protect the platforms, not the people. But the impact didn't stop online. The consequences bled into my real life. I was cut off from family, alienated from friends. Suddenly just being around me felt toxic to others. My relationships unraveled, and I was left wondering, how did it come to this? Why was I being isolated? The answer? Compromised communications. Wild, outlandish stories were seeded through emails and messages, fabricated narratives designed to make me look unstable or even dangerous. This is how you collapse a support network. Not with force, but with information operations, turning the people closest to you into strangers. When they couldn't throttle the channel without exposure, they hit the supply. Ban the buyer, starve the content. That's how you silence without deplatforming. I'm not just uploading videos, I'm filing corporate actions. A public tender offer targeting governance failures and deceptive practices, media warfare, plus legal warfare. Picture this. A tidal wave of traffic from Asia slams into the US algorithm, forcing it into a high-stakes decision. Does it let the surge through, risking its own performance metrics, or does it clamp down, potentially blocking legitimate users? This is the invisible battle happening behind every click, every swipe, every match. For years, the global network, once a tool for connection, became my battering ram, a weapon I wielded to expose the cracks in the system. The very infrastructure they built to scale became the pressure point I could exploit. In the courtroom, the rules are different. The failure to warn carve-out from Section 230, Doe v. Internet Brands Inc., 824F.3D 846, 9th Sir 2016, became a turning point. Suddenly, platforms could be held liable for not warning users about known offline dangers. This means that if a platform knows about a real-world risk and stays silent, it can't always hide behind Section 230. The law cracks open just a little. Even the Harvard Law Review points out, Section 230 isn't a total shield. There are exceptions, small but significant. Take Barnes v. Yahoo, 570F.3D 1096, 9th Cert 2009. Here, the court found that when a platform makes a specific promise to a user and then breaks it, that user can sue for promissory estoppel, even with Section 230 in play. In other words, platforms aren't untouchable if they make and break their word. The law recognizes that trust, once broken, has consequences. Fast forward to Grindr 2025, Section 230 still shields the core functions, matching, publishing, the heart of the platform. But design claims, those are still barred, leaving users with few options. Why does all this matter? Because it draws the line between where platforms are untouchable and where, just maybe, they're not. Here's the point for viewers. The law already acknowledges that platforms can shape real-world harm, and sometimes they have a duty to act. This isn't just theory, it's precedent. So what happens when the platform not only controls the flow of information, but also owns the romance graph of an entire nation? That's not just data, that's power over how people meet, love, and connect. When algorithms decide who gets seen, who gets matched, and who gets left out, the stakes are more than digital, they're deeply human. Every legal battle, every precedent shapes the future of how we interact online and offline. The question isn't just about liability, it's about responsibility and who gets to decide the rules of connection in the digital age. Platforms hold immense power and the law is only beginning to catch up. The battle isn't over, it's just getting started. The next move? That's up to all of us. IAC didn't stop at dating. In 2021, it made a bold move and bought Meredith, one of the largest magazine publishers in the country, a company with deep roots in American media. Suddenly, brands like People, All Recipes, Investopedia, and more, household names trusted for decades, were under a single digital roof. This move centralized lifestyle and financial narratives under Meredith, giving IAC unprecedented influence over what millions read, cook, and believe about money. The takeaway? When you combine dating data with a media megaphone, you don't just sense culture, you can steer it. The power to shape opinions, trends, and even values is now in the hands of a few. This $2.7 billion deal wasn't just about money, it was about control, over stories, over data, over influence. What I can prove is right here. Experiments on users, a high-profile FTC deception case, and a pattern of manipulating what people see and pay for. Unlawful pricing, hidden arbitration walls that block justice, these aren't just headlines. They're tactics that keep power unchallenged. And it all ties back to media consolidation. The fewer the owners, the louder their voice. After 12 years of watching these patterns, I believe the same toolkit that can nudge your choices online can also pressure public figures, subtly shifting policies or accelerating exits from the spotlight. It's not just about softening policies or accelerating exits, it's about shaping the very boundaries of public debate. You decide what that means for our future. Shadow banned in America, viral in Asia. The algorithm picks winners and losers, often without explanation. 12 years targeted. If they'll do this to me, they'll do it to anyone. No one is immune. Not creators, not journalists. And most certainly not you. Like, share, subscribe. Every action you take is a signal, a way to push back, to demand transparency. Every signal you send makes the algorithm lose a little of its grip, and brings this system into daylight. The more we expose, the less it can hide.